Woman finds this abandoned baby in winter. She's shocked when she sees what lies beneath him. A peaceful winter day unfolded in a small town blanketed in snow. Emily, an ordinary woman with a kind heart, decided to take a morning stroll through the local park. The park, usually bustling with activity, was now serene and quiet, the snow muffling the sounds of the world. Emily loved this time of the year. The crisp air and the pristine beauty of the snow always brought her a sense of calm. As she walked along the familiar paths, she noticed something unusual on a bench not far from the playground. There, amidst the white expanse, was a small, motionless bundle. Emily's heart skipped a beat. At first, she thought it might be a forgotten piece of clothing or a bag. But as she got closer, she realized it was much more than that. Her breath caught in her throat as she saw a tiny face peeking out from the blankets. It was a baby, left all alone in the freezing cold. Emily's mind raced. Who could have left a baby here? Why? She looked around, but the park was empty. Panic and a sense of urgency washed over her. She knew she had to act fast to save this child from the biting cold. Welcome back to PlotTwister. Before we unravel today's mystery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you're always in the loop. Emily carefully lifted the baby, wrapping her own scarf around him for extra warmth. She could feel the chill through the layers of blankets, and the baby's tiny boots shivered. Without wasting another moment, she reached for her phone and dialed 911, her hands trembling from both the cold and the shock. The operator's voice was calm and guided her through the situation, assuring her that help was on the way. Emily held the baby close, whispering soothing words to him as she waited. She couldn't shake the fear and sadness that someone had abandoned this helpless child. What kind of desperate situation must the mother have been in to do such a thing? Minutes felt like hours, but soon the sound of sirens broke the stillness of the park. Paramedics arrived, their faces a mix of professionalism and concern. They quickly assessed the baby's condition, wrapping him in warmer blankets and preparing to transport him to the hospital. Emily felt a mix of relief and lingering worry. She had done her part, but the baby's fate was still uncertain. As the ambulance drove away, Emily found herself standing alone in the snowy park. Her thoughts a whirlwind of questions and emotions. She had stumbled upon a mystery that day, one that would change her life in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. Little did she know that this was just the beginning of an incredible journey. Emily's day began like any other winter morning. She brewed her favorite coffee, savoring its warmth as she gazed out the window. The snow had fallen heavily overnight, transforming the town into a picturesque winter wonderland. Bundling up in her thick coat, hat, and gloves, Emily decided to take a walk to enjoy the fresh snow and clear her mind. The park was one of Emily's favorite spots. Today it was particularly serene, with the trees heavy with snow and the usual hustle and bustle replaced by a tranquil silence. As she wandered along the paths, her breath visible in the cold air, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. The crunch of snow under her boots was the only sound, creating a rhythmic, calming backdrop of her thoughts. As she rounded a corner near the playground, something out of place caught her eye. A small, unmoving bundle of a bench stood out against the stark white landscape. Her first thought was that someone had left behind a piece of clothing, but as she got closer, a wave of dread swept over her. It wasn't just a pile of clothes. It was a baby, swaddled in blankets, left alone in the frigid air. Her heart pounded in her chest as she approached the bench, her mind racing with questions and fears. She looked around desperately, hoping to see someone nearby. But the park was deserted. Kneeling beside the bench, she gently touched the baby's cheek. It was cold, too cold. Emily's maternal instincts kicked in. She quickly picked up the baby, cradling him close to share her body heat. With shaking hands, she grabbed her phone and called 911. Her voice trembling as she explained the situation. The operator assured her that help was on the way. Emily tried to calm the baby, who was now whimpering weakly. She held him tightly, whispering soft words of comfort, all the while feeling a deep sense of urgency. The minutes dragged on, each one feeling like an eternity. Finally, the sound of sirens broke through the silence. Paramedics rushed over, their faces a mixture of professionalism and concern. They carefully took the baby from Emily, wrapping him in warmer blankets and checking his vital signs. The baby was quickly placed in the ambulance and the doors closed. Emily stood there shivering more from the shock than the cold. She had done what she could, but the image of the abandoned baby and the questions surrounding his abandonment lingered in her mind. This extraordinary event had turned her ordinary day into a profound and life-changing experience. The paramedics wasted no time getting the baby to the hospital. Emily followed closely behind in her car, her thoughts racing with concern for her child's well-being. When she arrived at the hospital, she rushed into the emergency room, desperate for any news. The sterile, bustling environment seemed a world away from the serene park where she had found the baby. Emily approached the front desk, her voice shaking as she asked about the baby. The nurse directed her to a waiting area, assuring her that the doctors were doing everything they could. Emily sat down, her mind replaying the morning's events. She couldn't shake the image of the baby alone in the snow. Who would leave a child like that, and why? As she waited, a police officer approached her, introducing himself as Officer Reynolds. He asked Emily to recount what had happened. She told him everything from her morning walk to finding the baby and calling 911. He took notes, his expression serious and thoughtful. When she finished, he thanked her and assured her they would do their best to find out what has happened. Not long after, a doctor emerged from the examination room. He approached Emily with a reassuring smile, informing her that the baby was stable and would be fine. The relief that washed over Emily was overwhelming. The doctor explained that the baby was suffering from mild hypothermia, but would recover fully with proper care. Just as Emily began to relax, Officer Reynolds returned with a small, crumpled note that had been found tucked inside the baby's blankets. The note was short and cryptic, hinting at a desperate situation, but providing no clear answers. It read, "Please take care of him. I had no other choice." Emily's heart ached as she read the words. The note raised more questions than it answered. Who was the mother? Why had she felt compelled to abandon her baby in such a dangerous way? Emily felt a strong need to find out the truth, not just for the baby's sake, but for the mother's as well. As the day turned into evening, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The police began their investigation, but Emily knew she couldn't just walk away. The connection she felt to the baby was too strong. She had to help uncover the story behind this mysterious abandonment. The hospital staff arranged for the baby to be taken into temporary care, and Emily left the hospital with a heavy heart. Driving home, she couldn't stop thinking about the note and the baby's fragile state. The mystery deepened, and Emily found herself drawn into a web of questions that demanded answers. This unexpected turn of events had set her on a path she never anticipated, but she knew she couldn't turn back now. The rescue had only been the first step in a much larger journey. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that she needed to do more. The baby, now safe in the care of social services, still occupied her thoughts. Determined to uncover the baby's past, she began visiting local shelters and community centers, hoping someone might recognize the baby or have information about the mother. At first, her efforts seemed in vain. Each visit led to dead ends and unanswered questions. Emily's frustration grew, but so did her resolve. She was determined to find answers not just for the baby, but also for the mother who had left him behind. One afternoon, Emily decided to reach out to an old friend who worked in social services. Jessica had always been resourceful and well-connected. Over coffee, Emily explained the situation, showing her the note and describing the baby's condition when she found him. Jessica listened intently, promising to look into any recent cases that might be related. A few days later, Jessica called a lead. She had found a case of a young woman named Maria who had recently been reported missing. Maria had a troubled past and had been staying in a shelter nearby. The pieces started to fit together. Could Maria be the mother of the baby Emily had found? Emily and Jessica decided to visit the shelter where Maria had been last seen. The shelter staff remembered Maria well. They described her as a quiet, kind woman who had been struggling but was determined to turn her life around. Maria had left the shelter abruptly and no one had heard from her since. Piecing together Maria's story, Emily left a pang of empathy. She could only imagine the desperation and fear that must have driven Maria to such an extreme act. The shelter staff provided a few more clues, items Maria had left behind, including a journal with entries that hinted at her struggles and hopes for her children's future. Emily felt a deeper connection to Maria now. She read through the journal, her heart breaking with each entry. It was clear that Maria loved her child deeply, but had felt trapped and without options. Emily knew she had to find Maria, not just for the baby's sake, but to help a mother who had lost her way. The more she uncovered, the more Emily realized this was not just about solving a mystery. It was about understanding the human stories behind the events and finding a way to bring some peace and resolution to everyone involved. Emily's journey was far from over, but she was more determined than ever to see it through. The community began to rally around Emily's efforts. Neighbors and friends offered help, spreading the word and keeping an eye out for Maria. The sense of unity and purpose was palpable. Emily felt hopeful, knowing that with every step she was closer to uncovering the truth and possibly reuniting a family. Just when Emily thought she had hit another dead end, an unexpected call changed everything. A woman named Sarah contacted her, claiming to have information about Maria. Sarah sounded cautious but sincere, and Emily arranged to meet her at a local cafe. Sarah explained that she had met Maria a few months ago in a support group for single mothers. Maria had shared bits of her story, and Sarah had grown concerned when Maria stopped attending all the meetings. She had tried to reach out but had no luck. Then she heard about the abandoned baby on the news and felt a gut-wrenching connection. Over steaming cups of coffee, Sarah revealed that Maria had confided in her about a difficult past. She had been in an abusive relationship and had fled to protect her unborn child. With no family to turn to and fearing for her safety, Maria had ended up at the shelter. Sarah remembered Maria mentioning a distant relative who might help, but she hadn't shared many details. Emily felt a surge of hope. This was the breakthrough she needed. She asked Sarah for any additional clues or details Maria might have mentioned. Sarah thought hard, recalling a conversation where Maria had spoken about a small town where she once felt safe, a place she had always dreamed of returning to. With this new lead, Emily and Officer Reynolds focused their search on the town Maria had mentioned. They scoured records, spoke to locals, and checked shelters in the area. Their efforts finally paid off when they found someone who recognized Maria from a photograph. An older woman named Mrs. Thompson remembered Maria staying in her boarding house briefly before disappearing again. Mrs. Thompson described Maria as a sweet but troubled young woman. She recalled Maria mentioning a friend who lived nearby, someone she trusted. This friend, Mrs. Thompson said, was named Rachel and had a small farm on the outskirts of town. Emily and Officer Reynolds drove out to the farm, their anticipation mounting with each mile. When they arrived, Rachel was wary but invited them in after they explained their purpose. She confirmed that Maria was indeed staying with her, but had left suddenly, leaving behind only a few belongings and a note asking Rachel to care for her baby if anything happened to her. Rachel handed over the note, which was heartbreakingly simple. "If I don't come back, please keep him safe. His name is David." Emily's heart ached as she read the words. Maria had been so close, yet still out of reach. But now, with Rachel's help, they had another piece of the puzzle. As they pieced together Maria's movements, the story became clearer. Emily felt both sorrow and determination. They were closing in on Maria's whereabouts, but the mystery of why she had felt so desperate remained. Each step brought them closer to the truth, revealing the depth of Maria's love and the lengths she had gone to protect her child. Emily knew they were on the brink of discovering the full story, and she was ready to see it through to the end. As Emily and Officer Reynolds delved deeper into Maria's life, they found a final clue hidden in the note Rachel had given them. The note mentioned an old family heirloom that Maria had taken with her for safekeeping, something that was deeply important to her. Emily remembered the baby's blankets and wondered if there was more to them than meets the eye. With newfound determination, Emily returned to the hospital, seeking permission to examine the items found with the baby most closest. The hospital staff, understanding the importance of the request, allowed her access. As Emily carefully unfolded the blankets, she noticed a hidden pocket sewn into the fabric. Inside, she found a small, intricately designed locket. Opening the locket, Emily discovered a tiny photograph of Maria with an older couple. On the back, an address was etched. It was a location not far from where Emily lived. This was the final piece of the puzzle. She immediately contacted Officer Reynolds, and together they drove to the address. The house, a modest but well-kept home, belonged to Maria's grandparents. They had no idea about Maria's recent struggles, but had always hoped she would reach out to them. They were overjoyed to learn about their great-grandson David, and devastated to hear about Maria's hardships. The grandparents explained that Maria had a complicated past, but had always been determined to protect her child. They showed Emily and Officer Reynolds old family photos and letters, painting a picture of a young woman who had faced many challenges, but had an unwavering love for her son. Meanwhile, a breakthrough occurred. The police found Maria in a nearby town, safe but in a fragile state. She had been hiding, afraid and unsure where to turn. When she learned that her baby was safe and with her family, she broke down in tears of relief. The reunion at the grandparents' house was emotional and heartwarming. Maria, weak but filled with gratitude, hugged her son tightly. Emily watched, tears in her eyes, as the family came together, promising to support each other and give David the loving home he deserved. With the mystery resolved, Emily left a profound sense of fulfillment. She had played a crucial role in reuniting a family and ensuring the baby's safety. The town too rallied around Maria and David, offering support and resources to help them start anew. Emily returned to her normal life, but she was forever changed by the experience. She realized the incredible impact one person could have by simply caring and taking action. As she walked through the now familiar park, she felt a deep connection to the community and a renewed sense of purpose. The story of Maria and her baby became a beacon of hope and resilience, reminding everyone that even in the darkest of times, there's always a path to a brighter future. Emily knew she would always carry the story with her, a testament to the power of compassion and the strength of the human spirit. What are your thoughts on the twist we uncovered today? Comment your ideas below. Make sure to like and subscribe for a daily dose of drama and mystery. See you later with another twist.